A wall designed to resist lateral forces parallel to the plane of a wall. What is the minimum that a habitable space shall be separated from a private garage and its attic area? 1/2 inch gypsum board applied to the garage side. Familiar with all types of construction, 1 through 5. What type of construction is heavy timber? Type 4. Become familiar with Table 601, for building elements. Page 117. Bolt heads must not be closer than 1 inch to the edge of fireproofing. The height of the parapet firewall shall not be less than 30 inches above the point where the roof surface and the wall intersect. The clearance between the ends of combustible members in a firewall must be 4 inches. Combustible roof insulation if the roof coating is applied directly to the insulation. Note 5. Number 18 SWG steel tie wire spaced 24 inches on center. Boards to protect structural steel columns. Table 803.11. Be able to determine finish requirements using this table. Floor sleepers, bucks, and nailing blocks shall not be constructed of combustible materials. 805.1.3. Combustible insulating boards not more than 1/2 inch thick and covered with finished flooring are permitted when attached directly to a non-combustible floor assembly or to a wood subflooring attached to sleepers. 907.2.1. Any church with an occupancy load of more than 300 must have a fire alarm system. Page 2. The height of manual fire alarm boxes shall be a minimum of 42 inches and a maximum of 48 inches, measured vertically from the floor level to the activating handle or level of the box. You must become familiar with Table 907.5.2, 1008.3.4. The emergency power system shall provide power for a duration of not less than 90 minutes. 1010.1.1. The minimum width of each door used as a means of egress shall provide a clear width of 32 inches. Doors shall swing in the direction of egress travel when serving an occupancy load of 50 or more persons. Thresholds at doorways shall not exceed 3/4 of an inch in height for sliding doors. What is the maximum unlatching force allowed with panic and fire exit hardware? 15 pounds. Shall have a minimum headroom clearance of 80 inches. 1011.5.2. What is the maximum riser height allowed? 7 inches. Page 271. 1012.2. Ramps used as a part of a means of egress shall have a running slope of not greater than what? 1 in 12. 1012.6.3. What is the minimum length of a ramp landing? 60 inches. Handrail heights between 34 and 38 inches. 1014.3.1. Round handrails, maximum diameter, 2 inches. Handrails shall have at least 1.5 inches in clearance. 1015.2. All platforms and mezzanines more than 30 inches high must have a 42-inch guardrail. 10. Required guards shall not be less than 42 inches high. Guardrail banisters shall not allow a spear greater than how many inches in diameter to pass between them? 4 inches. Emergency escape and rescue minimum net clear openings of 5.7 square feet. Maximum height from the floor not greater than 44 inches. 1106.1. Accessible parking spaces. An airspace of not less than 1 inch shall be provided between the insulation and the roof sheathing. All habitable rooms must have a glazed area of 8% of the floor area. Required for a habitable room 10 feet wide by 12 feet long. 10 square feet. Page 321. Table 1405.2. Fiber cement lap siding minimum thickness is 0.25 of an inch. Siding minimum thickness is 0.0149 of an inch. 1405.11.1. Maximum spacing of fasteners is 24 inches, either vertically or horizontally. When the siding is installed horizontally, the fastening spacing shall not exceed 16 inches horizontally and 12 inches vertically. Vertically, the fastening spacing shall not exceed 12 inches horizontally and 12 inches vertically. 1505.2. Class A roof assembly is the most fire resistant, effective against severe fire exposure. Acceptable fasteners for asphalt shingles shall be galvanized, stainless steel, aluminum, or copper roofing nails. 1507.2.8. Minimum slope for asphalt shingles is 2 and 12 with 2 plies of felt, 4 and 12 with 1 ply. 2.8.2. Acceptable ice barrier materials shall consist of modified bitumen sheets extended from the lowest edge of all roof surfaces to a point at least 24 inches inside the exterior wall line of the building. 1507.2.9.2 Note 1. For open valleys lined with metal, the valley linings shall be at least 24 inches wide. 1507.2.9.3. Drip edge overlap to be a minimum of 2 inches. Drip edge shall be mechanically fastened a maximum of 12 inches on center. Be able to determine valley lining materials with this table. High slope roofs 4 and 12 or greater. 1507.3.6. Tile fasteners shall be corrosion resistant and not less than 11 gauge. 42. Table 1507.7.6. Headlap for a slate roof with a slope greater than 20 and 12 is 2 inches. If used, the sheathing boards shall not be less than 1/4 nominal. Page 345. 1507.9.1. Wood shakes shall only be used on solid or space sheathing. If used, the sheathing boards shall not be less than 1/4 nominal. Table 1507.9.8. Become familiar with the wood shake weather exposure and slope table for the exam. Minimum slope for a built-up roof is 1/4 and 12. Except for coal tar built-up roofs, they shall have a minimum slope of 1/8 and 12. Page 350. Metal flashings to which bituminous materials are to be adhesed shall be primed prior to installation. Table 1604.3. Use this table to determine allowable deflection for the exam. (1804.4). The grade shall be sloped away from a building no less than 1 in 20 for a minimum distance of how many feet? 10 feet. Page 408, 1804.6. All fill must be compacted to 90% of standard Proctor density. 1804.7. When shallow foundations will bear on controlled, low-strength material, an approved geotechnical report is required. Pages 409. Section 1805. You must become familiar with damp proofing and waterproofing requirements for the exam. Page 4.1.6.2, 6.2, Note 6. Concrete foundation walls must have a minimum compression strength of not less than how many psi? 2,500 psi. 1809%. 1809.4. 1809.3. Steps and continuous footers are required when the slope exceeds 10%. The minimum depth of footings below the undisturbed ground surface shall be 12 inches. 1809.5, Note 1. Footings must extend below the frost line. Page. The thickness of concrete slabs supported directly on the ground shall not be less than 3.5 inches. A 6 mil polyethylene vapor retarder with joints lapped no less than 6 inches shall be placed between the base course and the concrete slab. Fireplace openings less than 6 square feet must have a hearth that extends 16 inches in front of the firebox. Fireplace openings 6 square feet or greater, the hearth must extend 20 inches. Page 450, 113.9. Chimneys shall extend at least 2 feet higher than any portion of the building within 10 feet, but shall not be less than 3 feet above the highest point where the chimney passes through the roof. Page 2303.1.9.2. Maximum moisture content of 19% for pressure-treated wood. Page 467. Table 2304.8. Page 466. Table 2304.6.1. Sheathing boards shall be 3/8 of an inch thick. Page 467. Table 2304.88, 3 in parentheses. Become familiar with allowable spans for plywood used as roof or floor sheathing. Please note axis perpendicular to supports. Page 4.8, 5 in parentheses. Become familiar with allowable spans for plywood used as roof sheathing with this table. Please note axis parallel to supports. Page 469, 2304.9.3.2. The length of each nail connecting laminations shall be not less than 2 1/2 times the net thickness of each lamination. Page 2304.1.1. Clearance from the ground to a floor joist, 18 inches. Girders, 12 inches. 20.5. Clearance between wood siding and earth on the exterior of a building shall not be less than 6 inches. 2304.12.2.1. The ends of wood girders entering masonry or concrete walls shall be provided with a 1/2 inch airspace on top, sides, and end. Page 486. 23. Anchorable spacing for sill plates is 6 feet on center, and there shall be no less than 2 bolts per piece, with 1 bolt located no more than 12 inches or less than 4 inches from each end of each piece. 2308.4.2.2. Bearing depth for wood joists on wood, 1.5 inches. On masonry, 3 inches. 2308.4.2.4. Notches on ends of joists shall not exceed 1/4 the joist depth. Pages 487 and 488. Table 2308.4 or .1.1, 1 in parentheses. Use this table to determine header and girder spans for exterior bearing walls. Table 2308.4.2 in parentheses. Use this table to determine floor joist spans for common lumber species. Please note pages 489 and 490 are for 30 pounds per square foot. Page 2308.4.4. If a trimmer or header exceeds 4 feet, what must be done? It must be doubled. Page 46.1. 6.1. Joist bridging is required if the depth to thickness ratio exceeds 6:1. What is the maximum spacing of bridging when required? 8 foot. Page 495. Page 408.5.1. Use this table to determine the spacing of wood studs for the exam. Page and non-load-bearing studs may notch 25% of the width. Load-bearing studs may be notched 25% of the width, and non-load-bearing studs may be notched 40%. 2308.5.10. In no case shall the edge of a bored hole be nearer than 5/8 of an inch to the edge of the stud. Page 50. In a manner to provide a continuous tie across the building shall be installed in a manner to provide a rafter tie shall joists are not parallel to the rafter. When ceiling joists are not parallel to the rafter, a rafter tie shall be installed in a manner to provide a continuous tie across the building at a spacing of not less than how many feet on center? 4 feet. 2308.7.4. Notching at the ends of rafter or ceiling joists shall not exceed 1/4 their depth. Page 5.7. Maximum spacing of a 2x6 purline is 6 feet. All strut slopes must be greater than 45 degrees. Page 2. 2. Sliding glass doors are considered hazardous locations and safety glazing is required. Page. Weeps. Point 1.2. Weep screeds shall be kept 4 inches from the ground and must have a flange of at least 3.5 inches. Page 5/7/8 of an inch. Include minimum of 7/8 of an minimum of 7/8. Overall thickness is a minimum of stucco's overall thickness is a minimum of 7/8 of an inch, including lath. Over concrete or masonry surface, the overall thickness shall be a minimum 1/2 of an inch. Page 5 is below the surface to a depth of at least 1. Stumps must be removed to a depth of at least 12 inches below the surface. 3304.1. Maximum slope for permanent backfill is 50%. Page 582. 3306.1. Be able to use this table, protection of pedestrians, for the exam. Page 5. Owners who plan on digging deep excavations on their property must notify their adjacent property owners within how many days of starting the excavation? 10 days. Page 5. Be able to use this chapter to find which ASTM standard covers a particular test or material. Miscellaneous questions. Thickness of a inch. The minimum diameter of light gauge studs is the maximum from earlier code books that are still on the exam. The maximum spacing of light gauge studs is 24 inches on center. The minimum diameter of a weep hole is 3/16 of an inch. Thickness of a standard glass masonry unit is 3 7/8.